When the Third Reich collapsed in May 1945, over 100 U-boats quietly ended their war at sea. Surfacing in harbors across Allied-occupied Europe, their service was over, but their legacy was just beginning. What followed was an unprecedented scramble, the systematic capture, dissection and destruction of Germany's submarine fleet. This is the story of how the defeated U-boats became the silent blueprints for the Cold War. On May 8, 1945, with Germany's unconditional surrender signed, Admiral Karl Dönitz, the former U-boat chief and Hitler's successor, issued the final command: cease operations, surface, and surrender to the nearest Allied authority. Across the North Atlantic, the Bay of Biscay, and the Norwegian fjords, more than 150 submarines rose. Their exhausted crews hoisted white flags as they sailed toward designated ports like Loch Erebol, Lisa Halley, and Portland. Their arrival marked the quiet end of the feared Wolfpack fleet. The surrender was meticulously managed. Allied warships escorted the subs into port, where Royal Navy and U.S. Navy boarding parties immediately secured crucial intelligence, codes, charts, and, most importantly, new technology. Engineers cataloged the rusted, battle-scarred vessels. At Loch Erebol, nearly 40 U-boats anchored in a grim parade of defeat. The logistical challenge immense. Yet Allied leaders quickly focused on a critical question: what to do with the world's most advanced submarine fleet. The United States and Britain sought intelligence from the revolutionary Type 21 and Type 23 designs, while the Soviet Union demanded its share, recognizing the potential for an early Cold War advantage. Meanwhile, captured German crews endured months of detention. Engineers familiar with the new propulsion systems and torpedo technology were extensively interrogated for intelligence that would shape future naval doctrine. By late 1945, most were repatriated to a defeated, divided Germany. Harbors from Trondheim to Portsmouth were clogged with captured vessels. The next move, Operation Deadlight, was designed to erase the physical presence of the fleet, but it could never erase the knowledge. By autumn 1945, the Allies had gathered over 100 surrendered U-boats. The high cost of maintenance and storage made their destruction imperative. The Royal Navy approved Operation Deadlight, a plan to tow the captured submarines into the deep Atlantic and sink them. Between November 1945 and February 1946, this immense operation sought to erase most of the Kriegsmarine's undersea fleet. The scale was daunting. Of 156 surrendered U-boats, 116 were marked for destruction under Deadlight Inch. The Royal Navy towed them roughly 100 to 120 nautical miles, northwest of Ireland, to zones XX, YY, and ZZ, where they would be sunk by naval gunfire, explosive charges, or by opening their sea valves. The operation was treacherous. Many U-boats were wrecks, leaking, seized, and structurally unsound after months at sea. In the harsh winter seas, more than a third of the vessels sank prematurely on the tow, dragged down by rough weather or structural failure. Deadlight's purpose was pure elimination, not preservation. Destroyers and frigates finished the job on those that made it, using naval gunfire to ensure they sank quickly. The last U-boat sunk under the official operation was Q-2I-511 on February 7, 1946. Crucially, not all U-boats were destroyed. The most advanced examples, the Type 21 and Type 23 boats, were deliberately spared. These vessels, with their streamlined hulls, greater battery capacity, and snorkel systems, represented a revolutionary leap. Submarines finally designed to fight primarily underwater. British and American engineers closely examined them, reverse engineering these technologies for their own post-war fleets. The wrecks of Deadlight were forgotten for decades, lying on the seabed off Ireland. Maritime archaeologists like Ennis McCartney later rediscovered these vast underwater graveyards, revealing how quickly the scuttling had been carried out. Their preserved hulls now form a silent testimony to the destruction of Hitler's fleet. While hundreds were scuttled, a select few were retained and distributed, becoming test subjects in the dawn of the Cold War. The Tripartite Naval Commission, formed in August 1945, allocated the surrendered fleet between the United States, the United Kingdom, and the Soviet Union. Each received 10 U-boats for examination, with the advanced Type 21 as the primary prize. In Britain, the Royal Navy integrated vessels like the renamed HMS N41 XU-3017 for submerged endurance trials. Canada used others as training platforms. the United States Navy studied the propulsion systems and silent running technology, features that would critically influence America's post-war submarine classes. The legendary long-range cargo submarine U-234, captured with the secret payload of uranium oxide and jet engine components, provided a unique intelligence windfall before being sunk during weapons tests. The most profound impact was felt in the East. The Soviet Union acquired several prize Type 21 boats, which served as direct, plate-by-plate templates for the Soviet Navy's later Whiskey-class submarines. Soviet shipyards replicated the pressure-resistant architecture and snorkel systems, gaining a sudden, dangerous technological advantage. The same German engineering that had once targeted Allied convoys was now fueling a nascent arms race beneath the Arctic ice. Smaller nations also benefited. France, Norway, and Denmark used captured hulls for training and as models for their post-war shipbuilding. The redistribution of U-boats swiftly became an early symbol of post-war geopolitics, as cooperation yielded to competition. By the end of the decade, most retained submarines were scrapped, but their influence was permanent. The innovations of the Type 21 became the design foundation for virtually every conventional submarine built through the 1950s. In a sense, Germany's final wartime invention became the blueprint for the nuclear age. A handful of U-boats escaped destruction and entered a new chapter as artifacts of remembrance. Among the best known is U-995, preserved today as a museum ship at Labo, Germany. Visitors step inside its narrow hull to grasp the oppressive quarters where 45 men fought. In France, U-123, renamed Blizon, served for years before being preserved at Lorient. The unique U-534, raised from the Kattegat Strait, is displayed in Birkenhead, England, cut into sections to reveal its interior. Across the Atlantic, the U-505, captured intact in 1944, remains a centerpiece at the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago, the first enemy warship ever displayed on American soil. Yet, the majority rest in the underwater graveyard off northwest Ireland. While the physical ships were destroyed in Operation Deadlight, public fascination and historical study have only grown. Museums and historians recognize these vessels as more than relics. They are powerful reminders of the human cost. Over 30,000 German submariners and countless Allied sailors never returned. The machines that symbolize stealth and precision now stand for loss, innovation, and memory. Today, the preserved boats and the wrecks below the Atlantic serve as twin memorials, telling the final story of a fleet that now rests in silence between history and the sea.